What it do, YouTube? It's your Bullo Tradie back with another video. Sorry guys, I've been gone for a little bit. People doesn't feel like making videos, but I'm back with another video. And today I'm finna be starting my series of me and the overrated players. I'm finna be continuing it, cause if y'all didn't see my Steve Nash video, I recommend y'all go check that out. And before I get started with this video, make sure y'all like, subscribe to my channel, hit that bell for notifications, follow me down on Instagram, my links are down in the description box, and let's get on with this video. So today I'm going to be talking about another overrated player, John Stockton. Stockton. Man. Listen, one of the greatest passers ever, one of the greatest all-time leader in steals, top 10 point guard, like first ballot Hall of Famer. Like John Stockton, he was a great player. I can't take nothing away from him, but just because he's great doesn't mean he ain't overrated. And John Stockton fixed that bill perfectly clear. And for the people that overrate this guy, do it because of numbers. Sure, Stockton's numbers were impressive, but let's be honest, did it lead to a ring? Because he had Karl Malone. No, because he kept using the same style of play. And guess where it left him? Ringless. And so is Karl Malone. Ringless, because they kept using that same style of play. And the other thing that people overrate about John Stockton is where he ranked in the top point guards of all time. And I hear people say he's a top 3 point guard. I hear people say he's a top 5 point guard of all time. He ain't better than Steph Curry. He ain't better than Isaiah Thomas. He ain't better than Oscar Robertson. Hell, I don't even think he's better than Jason Kidd, to be honest. But I got John Stockton over Jason Kidd for now, because you could swap those two a little bit. Like, you can, but I really don't care. And another thing that people really don't talk about John Stockton's career are his playoff performances. Because, like, literally, in the series against the Portland Trail Blazers, in 1992, he averaged 14 points, 11 assists, and 2 rebounds. But he shot 39% from the field and 23% from 3 on nearly 4 attempts a game, I might add. So John Stockton, and he got outplayed by Terry Porter in that series. If y'all know who Terry Porter is, go look him up. He was a point guard for the Blazers. Yeah, Terry Porter cooked him in that series. You can even look at another series, such as the Houston Rockets series in 1995, I believe, where he averaged 14 points, 9 assists, and 3 rebounds, but he shot 41% from the field and 27% from 3 on nearly 5 attempts a game. That is not good whatsoever. And the people that want to make excuses and say all he does is pass, but when your team needs you to step up, you got to step up. Like, literally, if you're this so-called top 5 point guard of all time, which you aren't, you should be able to average at least 20 points a game if you're that great. You even had a 25 point per game scorer in Karl Malone. Sure, you had him, but Karl Malone couldn't do everything by himself, doing all the scoring. But John Stockton, the ball was in your hands too. People say you were the best, sometimes the best player on the team, and you weren't. That's a lot of people think about John Stockton. He wasn't even the best player on his own team, because that belonged to Karl Malone. Like, that was too easily. Karl Malone is easily the best player on that team. And another thing that people overrate about John Stockton is literally people are just going to use assists and steals. What else can you talk about him? He hasn't won an MVP. And speaking of MVP, he only placed a first vote of MVP. He only placed number 1 MVP. He only got a first place MVP vote once. Like, once. This man didn't even have 2 MVP votes. And so that's another thing that people don't talk about John Stockton's career. Like, literally, he only has 1 first place vote in the MVP conversation. And sure, you want to say he played with Karl Malone, but that still doesn't give him an excuse to not show up in those big games. And also, a lot of people don't talk about John Stockton is the NBA Finals. And sure, everybody want to say, but that's Michael Jordan and Kobe. That's Michael Jordan. Well, don't use that excuse, because they both had the same record in 1998 with 62 wins, as John Stockton in that series averaged below 10 points per game, shot 49% from the field, but also shot 22% from 3. So I just don't get why he only averaged below 10 points per game. I know a lot of people say that's Michael Jordan. Of course he's gonna struggle. But a lot of people forget that Scottie Pippen wasn't 100% in that series. So to me, and they lost to him the previous year in 1997. So that doesn't give him an excuse to lose to the Bulls 2 times in a row. That was unacceptable. I don't care what anybody says about that. And people want to make excuses because that was Michael Jordan. Who cares? If you're this great of a player, and we're not letting Karl Malone off the hook neither. He also had some bad games as well, but not as bad as John Stockton, because he didn't step up in neither of those finals. Not even 1997, I believe. But when it came to Game 6, where he only had like 9 points, I believe, and then people like to want to talk about his clutch 3 that he made in the end. Yeah, that's not cutting it. Because did he step up in that series? No. Sure, he had his moments where he hit that buzzer beater against Houston in 1997 to send him to the NBA Finals. That was probably the only moment that John Stockton ever had in the playoffs. Like, please tell me, name the moment from the top of your dome that John Stockton ever had a big moment besides that Houston series. Tell me. That's right, nothing. He only had one moment in the playoffs. Like, literally. And another thing that people overrate about this guy, people like to say that he's like a top 20 player of all time. No. And I ain't even hear people say he's a top 15 player of all time. Like, that is ridiculous, man. Then they just want to use the assist and steals argument. Like, so what? Jason Kidd is second all time in steals, second all time in passing. So what do you expect? I don't hear nobody put Jason Kidd in their top 20. I don't hear nobody put Jason Kidd in their top 15. See, all they're going to use is assists and steals. Sure, John Stockton also had a shot. Even though it was ugly, it still went in, because he's also an underrated shooter. But he barely takes some of those shots. If y'all didn't see his highlights. And he also dribbles with one hand, I might add. And I don't know why people don't talk about that, because most of the times he only dribbles with one hand. And when y'all go check out his highlights, trust me, he only dribbled with one hand. And like, literally, he's like the Bob Cousy, but more efficient. I'm not saying he's like Bob Cousy shooting below 40% from the field. Nah. But John Stockton, he's just overrated, man. Like, literally. He's great. He's all-time great, but he had moments where he shrunk in the playoffs. He had moments where he didn't step up in those NBA Finals, and that's really belong to Karl Malone. I know scoring ain't your responsibility, because that obviously belonged to Karl Malone, but you need to step up in those big moments. That's the reason why you don't got a ring, because you didn't step up. And sure, you passed a lot, but that doesn't give you an argument not to score as many points as you can. You can lead. If you would have averaged at least 20 or 19 points per game, you could have had a ring on your finger, John. Like, literally, all those opportunities. You've been there for 20 years. 20 years straight. Like, literally, you've been there for 20 years straight, and look where you're still left off. Ringless. And I'm not here to disrespect John Stockton, but all they're going to talk about are the numbers. That's the only argument. And we need to stop doing that, because that leads to players becoming overrated. And in my opinion, John Stockton being the most overrated player of all time. But that includes this video. Make sure y'all like, subscribe to my channel. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure y'all stay safe and stay healthy, y'all. This your boy Lil Trey D signing out. Peace.